On a stormy summer day in 1588, the fate of two empires hung in the balance. One was a global superpower, the greatest military force the world had ever seen. The other, a small island nation, fighting for its survival and its soul. The invasion was inevitable, but what if one gust of wind had changed everything? What if history's most famous naval victory had been a crushing defeat? Imagine yourself standing on the cliffs of Dover in 1588. On the horizon, you see a sight that would strike terror into anyone's heart. A fleet of 130 warships, a force so massive it was believed to be unstoppable. This is the story of a world that could have been. This is History Reimagined. To understand a different outcome, we must first understand the reality of 1588. At the heart of the conflict were two powerful monarchs. Queen Elizabeth I of England ruled a small but ambitious island nation. Her Protestant faith was a constant thorn in the side of Catholic Europe, and her support of English privateers, who raided Spain's treasure ships, was a direct challenge to King Philip's authority. King Philip II of Spain, on the other hand, was the ruler of a global superpower. His vast empire spanned from Europe to the Americas, and the wealth from his colonies was unmatched. He saw Elizabeth's actions not just as a financial threat, but as a religious and personal insult. He was determined to end her reign and return England to the Catholic faith. He assembled a fleet unlike anything the world had ever seen, the Spanish Armada. A force of over 130 ships, packed with 30,000 men, its mission was to sail to the English Channel and launch a full-scale invasion of England. The battle began in the English Channel, and from the start, it was a clash of two very different forces. The Spanish ships were slow and cumbersome, designed for close-quarters combat and boarding enemy vessels. But the English ships were smaller, faster, and armed with longer-range cannons. They harassed the Spanish fleet, a persistent swarm of bees stinging a sleeping bear. But the real turning point wasn't a military victory. The Armada, unable to find a safe harbor, was forced to anchor off the coast of Calais. The English saw their opportunity. Under the cover of darkness, they launched fireships, old, empty vessels set ablaze, directly into the heart of the Spanish fleet. Then a massive storm, dubbed the Protestant wind, drove the crippled Armada north, smashing its ships against the rocky coasts. But what if the storms never came? What if the fireships failed? What if the Armada reached England intact? In our reimagined timeline, the fireships failed to scatter the Armada. The winds remain calm, and the Spanish fleet and soldiers, an unstoppable juggernaut, lands on the English coast. London falls within weeks. Under Spanish rule, English becomes the language of the streets, not the courts. Elizabeth is captured, perhaps executed. A Catholic monarch takes her place. The Spanish flag rises over the Tower of London. Churches return to Catholic worship. Dissenters are silenced. English pride is broken. Without England's support, the Dutch revolt collapses. Protestantism fades in Northern Europe. Spain stands unmatched, the supreme power of the 17th century. Spain's control over the global trade routes and the wealth of the Americas becomes absolute. The golden age of the British Empire never begins, and the American colonies, which would have been founded by English settlers, are either never established or are settled by Spain. And in London's darkened playhouses, Shakespeare's words may never reach the stage, censored or forgotten in a Spain-ruled England. In our history, the Armada's defeat was no accident, but neither was it inevitable. A fragile chain of events kept England free and changed the world forever. The rise of the British Empire, the dominance of the English language, and the spread of key Enlightenment ideals all seem like an inevitable chain of events. But the story of the Spanish Armada reminds us that nothing in history is truly inevitable. The defeat of Philip's fleet was not a foregone conclusion. It was the result of a desperate defense, some clever tactics, and a whole lot of luck. It was a hinge point, a moment where one turn of events could have sent us down a dramatically different path. And that's the real power of what-if history. It shows us that the world we live in is not a product of fate, but a delicate tapestry woven from a million different choices and circumstances. It proves that a single moment in time can change everything. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to History Reimagined to explore more alternate timelines with us.